We've reached the end of this phase of our journey with us and with our clients. And this is kind of some thoughts, some departing thoughts about how to proceed, how people might, what next steps might be considered now that hopefully we've shown people how to go through the whole diagnosis journey. And the natural question they're going to be asking, well, now what do I do? How do I proceed and actually implement an intervention or a change process? So I thought we could leave on a note of some thoughts, some suggestions and ideas.
Well, I'm not sure about the suggestions, but some thoughts and ideas.
Okay.
I think that when you're faced with a problem and you want to bring about some change, understanding where you are and what's going on is the first step. And that's really what this book has been about. Mm-hmm. The second step is then deciding what success looks like, what outcomes you're shooting for, so to speak. And then making a choice among a myriad of different pathways to start heading towards those outcomes that you've defined. So what's next is deciding what success looks like. And then after that, choosing a pathway, or many pathways in fact, to work yourself towards those outcomes.
So there could actually be a whole range of differentiated steps at various levels of an organization, depending on the scope of the issue and what our diagnosis tells us.
There could be, and more importantly than that, I think, is that good organisational change has redundancy built in. Mm-hmm. You never just rely on one path. Mm-hmm. You always choose a number of paths, any one of which, if it was successful, could deliver your outcome. But by doing many, you guarantee the likelihood of getting there. Because, as a colleague, Myron Kellner-Rogers says, mm-hmm. the only known consequence of intended change is that there will be unintended consequences.
Count on it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. We had an interesting chat sort of offline a second ago, and I made a comment which you reacted to, and I think it would be interesting for our colleagues to follow on that. I said that, I think I used the number that 90% of the challenge is really understanding accurately your diagnosis and your outcomes that you want to take from there. And you said, well, under some circumstances that's true, under other sets of circumstances not. Would you mind sharing with
Sure.
our colleagues some of your thinking about that?
When the system that you're considering is geographically bounded, like it's one hospital, mm-hmm. or it's one school site, or it's one mine site, or it's one glass tower of employees, I think that's possibly true. But when we're dealing with a very, very large organisation, for example, one organisation that I work with has 178,000 employees in 61 countries. And when you want to bring about change in a geographically dispersed large system, then understanding what the problem is, or even understanding what outcomes and success looks like, is a very small part of the problem. The implementation is the big issue, and choosing the pathway to get that can be an extraordinarily difficult thing.
And what suggestions, although you reacted to the word suggestions, what ideas, thoughts might you leave with people about, well, if they find themselves, which many of your clients do find themselves in that circumstance, less my clients in that kind of geographically dispersed, they might think they're in a geographically dispersed area because they're a large county in a state. You're talking about can be global.
Well, I would point them to the link in the last part of the book that says getting most value or real value from consultants. Mm-hmm. I think in that article there are a number of very practical suggestions about what you need to take into account, because invariably, and this is a sign of the times, the sign of the last 20 years, and it's not a criticism of any client or any group we've ever worked with, but invariably you find that those people who are charged with change internally in organisations are overstressed and sometimes underprepared for the complexity of the challenges they face. So they naturally turn to people outside to help them with the change. Mm-hmm. But hiring a consultant to help you with a complex change process is a very tricky business. and I would point people in the direction of that resource.
Excellent, excellent. So I think this has been an exciting journey for both of us. I can speak from my part because I think we had many breakthroughs in our own thinking as we were attempting, when it's...
And struggles too.
And
right?
struggles, which isn't...
And enmeshments as well.
It's a great metaphor for the journey that we all find ourselves on.
Yeah.
And so it's been a delight, and I would just like to pass on my thoughts and my appreciations for all of the people we work with who find themselves in these circumstances, day in and day out. And from my sense, I hope this has been a very, very useful resource to you. I don't know if you have any parting thoughts, comments.
I want to thank you for your forbearance, actually, and I wish all those people out there a great deal of luck.